Hello, this is a new episode about Future Passage podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about the exploration of airplane innovation. The first topic that we're going to talk about is supersonic aircraft. Supersonic aircraft is an aircraft able to fly faster than the speed of sound. Supersonic aircraft were developed in the second half of the 20th century and have been used almost entirely for research and military purposes. Only two aircraft, supersonic aircraft, have ever entered service for civil use as airliners. These ones are Tupolev and the Concorde, which we're going to talk about further in this podcast.
So actually, the Concorde is a really interesting plane because it was one of the most adopted supersonic planes at the time, and it was actually permanently grounded, and this is due to many reasons. One of them was breaking the sound barrier. So flying at supersonic speeds basically means that you're going faster than the speed of sound, and once you pass the speed of sound, the object that surpasses the sound barrier actually breaks the sound barrier and creates a shock wave, and as well as a super loud noise. So this shock wave actually disrupted the environment, not only animals but humans as well, including but not limited to like breaking people's windows. So it could be like taking off and then breaking the sound barrier, and then it like all the windows that were near the shockwave would just shatter. So this led to the Concorde actually being grounded, but there was actually a much bigger reason. Does anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, there was a crash in July 25th of the 2000s. This was the first time the Concorde had crashed and had like a big problem in the plane's 31-year history. So what happened is a plane full of 105 people were inside the plane, and the Concorde took off, and instantly it exploded. Huge sound, a fireball erupted, and they were all killed. It's huge. After this accident happened, the Concorde fleet was all grounded. They didn't fly them. Then there was an investigation about what happened, and at the end, it turns out a piece of metal had been on the runway, and that collided with the Concorde and made it explode. So Concordes went back in service in November 2001, but then they had some minor problems, and they were permanently out of service by October 2003.
Yeah, that's crazy. Also, the Concorde is actually very interesting because of its design. It actually had a bent nose, basically like where the cockpit is. It was slightly bent downward, which helped the pilots land the aircraft, because it was actually very difficult to fly, and it was designed after. I'm not sure if this is right, but I'm pretty sure it was designed like a bird, the beak, which was the tip of the plane that actually helped it with aerodynamics.
Yeah, well, the aerodynamics of supersonic flight are dramatically different from those of subsonic flight, like which are flights at speeds slower than the sound,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in particular, aerodynamic drag rises sharply as the aircraft passes the transonic regime, requiring much greater engine power and more streamlined airframes. So, more or less, why the Concorde behaved the way it behaved.
Mm.
So now, do you think that we are going to be able to experience supersonic flights in the near future?
It's just been illegal for commercial SSTs to fly over the US since, the Concorde issue. But I've heard that, I've read that lawmakers are cozying up the idea of their return if scientists can minimize the sonic boom and reduce other, turmoils and problems that they had with the flight. So I think it is a possibility for the future.
Yeah, I think the whole research and the whole technology is being revolved around us, I think we're the main focus for us to be able to use these technologies. So I think that's their main focus now. So I do believe that in the future we're going to be able to use those.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the next topic of the episode, which is Boeing innovation. Boeing has been developing new planes which are more efficient. They use less fuel and can travel longer distances. Do you guys have anything to talk about this topic?
Yeah, so I actually heard about this. It was the Boeing 797, which is a plane that's been rumored to be in development for a long time. Um, this plane is actually a solution to a problem the airline industry has been facing for a long time. So a lot of planes are basically guaranteed to make money when they fly because so many people need to be packed into them to fly transatlantic flights. So, like, let's say New York to London. It's a very popular route, and the planes are basically always full. So these airlines are basically guaranteed to make money. But where they aren't guaranteed to make money is flights to much less trafficked areas. So, like New York to Lisbon, for example. There's the risk that they don't fill up the plane completely. And this has been an issue for smaller planes to make this flight in terms of cost. So actually Airbus a long time ago had actually produced a plane that solved this very problem, but it was kind of ahead of its time. Nobody really wanted these kinds of planes at the time, but right now the market is searching for a solution to this problem, and Boeing is producing the 797, which is much more efficient and competes strongly with their 737, which is much smaller, as well as their 787, which is much bigger. So yeah, that's what I understand from the innovation of their airplanes, considering how influential they are in the market.
Yeah, I've read a lot of focus of Boeing in getting more better airplanes like for environment or improving the technological aspects of planes for the next step, going through the future years.
Yeah, I think these are the three big E's in the aviation process now. The three main challenges that they have are related to the engineering, so the technology in general, the environment, so all these machines going greener, and also the economics because it's a market that has very high costs. So I think these are the three main challenges that resume this area.
Okay, so now, guys, now that we're talking about the greener part of the aircraft industry, we can talk about the next topic, which is electric planes, which fits perfectly to this conversation. And you know that with all of what is happening in the world, with pollution and stuff, electric planes are becoming a necessity. They're much more greener for the environment, and I don't know. I'm willing to hear what you guys know about this.
So electric planes have always been like a goal for humanity as a whole. Like, we've always wanted to move away from oil. So electric planes have always been a desirable state for the airline industry. But there's always been issues with the idea of electric planes. They might be a lot better for the environment, but they can't stay in the air too long, as well as they aren't very fast. They might be extremely efficient, but they aren't very fast. The thing is, this isn't actually a problem for short range flights, like from flying within one country or a
Okay.
neighboring country that's like in Europe that's not too far away.
Mm-hmm.
A flight that's like less than 2 hours, electric planes are actually very suited for that job, but they're not
Okay.
like, we won't be seeing them making transatlantic flights anytime soon.
Yeah, and when looking at designs of future eco-friendly aircrafts, or like electrical, some companies are invested in it. They want it to happen. Now it's not viable, but hopefully it gets better and better. So one day we can fly on them.
Yeah. The one last thing before we end off, it was actually made possible by lithium ion batteries that
Yeah.
like it wasn't even imaginable to make a full flight on an electric powered aircraft. The first electric powered aircraft actually only flew for 15 minutes. But
crazy.
with the development of more powerful batteries, we were allowed to make longer flights. However, we're still limited.
Okay, guys, this is all for episode 2. Thank you for listening to our Future Passage podcast. And come back to the episode 3, in which we're going to be talking about drone exploration. Goodbye.